Mysterious, challenging, entrancing, and dreamlike are words that I and many others would describe David Lynch's work. Easily one of the most fascinating filmmakers and human beings that I have recently delved into in recent years. That being said, I still haven't seen every single one of his films yet, which is why, in light of his recent passing, I want to check out more of his films and talk about in this video what made me drawn into some of his work. Keep in mind, I'm not going to attempt to analyze his work, as not only I haven't seen some of it in quite some time, there's also people that are more inclined to the world of David Lynch than I am to make full analysis of work, as they are already on YouTube. So with that, let's continue with this video. The first thing I saw from Lynch, and when I first noticed his directing style, was his 1986 classic Blue Velvet, a film about a young college student played by Lynch regular Kyle MacLachlan, returning home to visit his unwell father, but then he discovers this severed ear in an empty field, which leads him to uncover this criminal conspiracy led by the psychopath played by the late great Dennis Hopper, while having this complex relationship with a troubled lounge singer played by Isabella Rossellini. From its opening scene that starts off with a very typical calming look into America's suburbia, which is then juxtaposed by a chilling sense of darkness that's hidden underneath it all. And that's when I knew the film was going to be special. As of right now, Blue Velvet is probably my favorite film from David Lynch. It's a film that perfectly captures this dreamlike small-town world that has a lot of darkness hidden behind it, especially with Dennis Hopper's character, Frank Booth, who is probably one of the most intimidating antagonists I have ever seen on screen. Just vile, evil, and kinda uncomfortable to watch. Truly an amazing performance by Mr. Hopper. I also recommend the film overall, obviously. Other projects from David Lynch have carried similar themes and have presented similar amount of surrealistic and nightmarish imagery that just burns into your head, while also having a sense of mystery and sly quirkiness about the world that inhabits these characters. And to me, my favorite overall project from David Lynch includes all these great aspects and more. About a year ago, I decided to check out Twin Peaks. I don't know why at the time. My mom had Paramount Plus, and I found out at the time that the whole show, including the Return miniseries, was on the streaming service. By that time, I was interested in watching more of Lynch's work after loving Blue Velvet. From the opening few minutes of the pilot directed by David Lynch, I was immediately riveted. From then on, I was intrigued by the murder mystery of a girl named Laura Palmer in the town that was affected by it, to the supernatural forces that involves a red room with a little person speaking backwards and other weird and creepy stuff that goes on throughout the show. One of the things I love about this series is how the series establishes its characters and the world they inhabit, as the setting presents itself as this warm, cozy town filled with mountains and trees, blue-class working people, typical high schoolers, unorthodox characters like the log lady, and a lovable police detective that visits the town to investigate this mystery while being in love with warm coffee and cherry pie.
This is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
Then, as the investigation grows deeper, the more sinister and weirder it becomes. Season 1 of Twin Peaks, I think, is pitch perfect. The characters, the mystery, the atmosphere, the direction, especially from the episodes directed by David Lynch himself. Also, the blend between mystery, horror, drama, even comedy helped establish myself as being a fan of the show. Season 2 is also really good, while not being quite as good as Season 1. There's something that happens in the middle of the season, without spoilers, that dragged the season for me a bit, and it wasn't that interesting to me until the last 2 or 3 episodes that made me fall in love with the show again. Especially the season 2 finale, which was amazing. That whole episode gave me chills, even down to the final shot with Agent Dale Cooper laughing at the cracked mirror with blood dripping from his face, also directed by David Lynch. After I finished the show, I went to watch Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, and I love that as well. I love how it showed Laura Palmer's life in Twin Peaks before she was murdered and how Dale Cooper became involved within this mystery. It reminded me what I love about the show, but it was also able to go to certain places that the original series wasn't able to go to since it was rated R. It also felt more tragic since we are following Laura throughout most of the film. We unfortunately know the eventual outcome. And the final shot of her in the red room and crying is very powerful and heartbreaking. Definitely one of my favorite films and one of my favorite projects overall from David Lynch. After watching the movie and the Missing Pieces film, where it compiled all the Fire Walk With Me deleted scenes into one complete package, I was excited to check out the Twin Peaks: The Return, and safe to say it didn't disappoint. This was my favorite season of the show. To me, it was the perfect blend of the original series and the movie. It fits right within that quirky but mysterious tone that the show helped establish, but it was also noticeably way darker than the show has ever been. With David Lynch in a director's chair throughout the remainder of the season, I love how the show gets more experimental and riskier than ever before. Each episode felt like this contained puzzle box of ideas and themes while cleverly reintroducing this world in modern times. This season deals a lot with what happened in the past, but also how so much has changed since the events of the last season. It has meaningful callbacks and appearances from the original show without feeling overbearing. The way they handled Dale Cooper by having him enter the real world as a different person named Dougie Jones, who has his childlike wonder, was honestly very odd and unexpected for how far it went, but was immensely fascinating. And once he fully becomes Dale Cooper towards the end of the season, it was incredibly satisfying. Arguably, the best episode of not only this season, but maybe the entire show is episode 8. No spoilers, but all I can say, it is one of the most unique and chilling episodes I've ever seen on TV. I highly recommend this season. The thing I love about David Lynch's work is that after I finish them, I always ponder about them and is eager to discuss what I just saw or what it represents. Those are the best kinds of film and television where it presents something that you're not quite sure about but want to find out. Lynch was very open to the fact that he encouraged discussion and interpretations of nearly all of his work. So much so that whenever someone asks him about the meanings for some of his films, like Inland Empire or even Mulholland Drive, he refuses the answer. This leads me to my final and most important point: David Lynch as a person. Recently, I've been watching quite a bit of interviews with the man, considering I've been watching his films lately and also the recent passing. And honestly, he was one of the most fascinating human beings that ever lived. His views on filmmaking, his life, transcendental meditation, and just basically anything and everything that was on his mind. I love hearing him talk. Very funny, wise, and insightful about the world, which is reflected in all of his work.
What's that buzzing?
It's the lights.
Fuck. Drive you nuts. Damn.
Experiment. We never get to, go dreamy or anything. We barely fucking make our days. I could have spent a week in the Fireman's. I love that place. And dream up all kinds of stuff.
You have a recurrent motif of like 2 points and something arcing between them, and it seems to me that this somehow relates to what you think about the synaptic arcs in our brain. I know you hate saying what things mean in your films, but am I right in thinking that that's at least in the right area? No.
There seems to be a growing trend in Hollywood now where there's a lot of prominent product placement. How do you, as a filmmaker, feel about this growing trend?
Bullshit. That's how I feel. Total fucking bullshit.
It does suck that there aren't going to be any more films or TV shows from this wonderful filmmaker or any more interesting conversations, but I'm honestly glad that now I'm getting the chance to go through his filmography, and watch the films I haven't done so already, while also discovering more about him as an artist. As of now, I've seen his LA trilogy, Lost Highway, previously mentioned Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. All films I highly recommend. I also recommend the documentary, David Lynch, The Art Life, that goes more deep into his life from his perspective and also how he became an artist. Amazing documentary. Basically an hour and a half of David Lynch conversations. Very fascinating. I definitely want to check out more of his films, especially The Elephant Man, Dune, The Stray Story, and Wild at Heart. He's sorely missed amongst the film community. His work will continue to fascinate and amaze not only me, but a lot of other film lovers and lovers of art. It will also continue to inspire aspiring filmmakers and storytellers. Despite his films and his output overall being weird and dark and extremely expressionistic, I've always seemed to be drawn not only to Lynch's work, but to him as an individual. Rest in peace, David Lynch.
And so you just stay alert, do your work, don't worry about the world going by. It doesn't mean that you can sit around and not do anything. You've got to get your butt in gear and do it. Translate those ideas to cinema or to a painting or to whatever, and figure out a way to get it done.